everybody. We're members of the Fayetteville, Arkansas chapter of a national organization called the Citizens Climate Lobby. And we're about to sing you a song here about a policy we support that's going to grow our American economy and at the same time help us all breathe a little bit easier.
1, 2, 3.
Placed on carbon-based fuels at their source, might be at a well or a coal mine or on imports at a port. Charge a $10 fee for every ton of city CO2, and equally to everyone dividends will then be due.
Oh, we're gonna have to pass this fast, for the carbon fee and dividend will bring relief at last. Carbon fee and dividends and economic boom.
Now this policy would raise the fee $10 more each year for every ton of CO2 that pollutes our atmosphere. Within 10 years of this carbon fee and its growing revenue, clean energy would cost us less than fossil fuels do.
Oh, we're gonna have to pass this fast, for the carbon fee and dividend will bring relief at last. Oh, we're gonna have to pass this soon, for the carbon fee and dividends and economic boom.
Now increasing carbon prices will send a message true to investors in clean energy that the time's wait is through. We've been hitched along to old king coal and petroleum resources. It's time we set our country free, get some corporate divorces.
Oh, we're gonna have to pass this fast, for the carbon fee and dividend will bring relief at last. Oh, we're gonna have to pass this soon, for the carbon fee and dividends and economic boom.
Oh, about 2/3 of the households in this country will break even or get more bucks back in dividends than the fuel costs have risen. So this carbon fee and dividend proposal must be passed to support our poor and help restore our shrinking middle class.
Oh, we're gonna have to pass this fast, for the carbon fee and dividend will bring relief at last. Oh, we're gonna have to pass this soon, for the carbon fee and dividends and economic boom. Oh, we're gonna have to pass this fast, for the carbon fee and dividend will bring relief at last. Oh, we're gonna have to pass this soon, for the carbon fee and dividends and economic boom.
This is Sally. She's like most chickens her age. She'll grow up in a place like this. And that means Sally's hiding something. A carbon footprint. Sally's farm uses electricity from a coal-fired power plant. Her farmer drives a diesel pickup. And her feed comes from a factory that consumes its own electricity and fuel. Now, meet Colin. Colin was raised on a solar-powered farm, eating locally sourced feed. Today, raising Colin is more expensive than raising Sally, because carbon-free energy is currently more expensive than fossil fuels. But someday soon, Sally's carbon footprint could tip the scales. Why? If we want to keep a livable climate, we have to put way less carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. You've got two basic options. You could make a law that limits how much fossil fuels a person or company can burn, and penalize them if they break the law. Sort of like a speeding ticket. Laws like that aren't always popular though. That's where the second option comes in, putting a price on carbon emissions. Right now you can put as much carbon dioxide into the air as you like, without paying a dime. But what if people had to pay? Almost 20 countries around the world have adopted a carbon tax. Here's how it works. Companies pay a tax when they buy fossil fuels like coal or natural gas. The price is based on how much carbon is in the fuel. And then they try to pass those costs on to customers. That means with a carbon tax, the cost of raising Sally goes up. And ultimately, when it's time for Sally to go to the great chicken afterlife, it should be easier for consumers to pick Colin for dinner. But a carbon tax isn't the only way to make carbon more expensive. Enter cap and trade. A bunch of countries have tried this too, and so has California. Under cap and trade, Sally's farmer can put as much carbon into the air as he wants. But if it goes above a certain amount, the cap, he'll need a permit. The government only hands out so many of these permits. So if you don't have enough permits for all the carbon you want to put in the air, you can buy or trade for them. Cap and trade supporters say the law gives us more control over emissions. With a carbon tax, we don't know what exactly will happen to emissions, but we have a better idea how much it will cost to try to curb them. Either way, both laws ultimately make carbon more expensive to emit, with the hope that people and companies will change their buying habits. So, how much more will Sally ultimately cost? It all depends on the details, like where Sally left her carbon footprint. In Mexico, burning carbon costs an extra $1 a ton. In California, that same ton costs $13, and in Sweden, $130. In any case, the more pricey we make carbon, the more competitive solar, wind, and other non-carbon-based energy sources become. The question is, who's willing to stomach the cost?
In economics, you know that one of the biggest problems is economic externalities, where someone's not paying the cost. And the biggest externality facing us right now is carbon emissions. If I'm a company and I pollute, that doesn't cost me, that costs everyone. So one of the big moves we have to make, in my view, is to actually price in that externality. I'm for a carbon fee, a carbon tax and dividend, and then use that money to start moving us towards renewable and sustainable sources of energy. If you have a price on carbon and then you ratchet up that price progressively, then you'll see a lot of these companies invest meaningfully in reducing their emissions in a way that they don't right now because the money's not in it. The carbon fee initially would be $40 a ton. So it's immediate, and if you're emitting anywhere from a ton up, then you start paying into the system. But then you have an economic incentive immediately to try and reduce those emissions, try and streamline your operations so that they're cleaner and more sustainable.
Opponents of the cap and trade climate bill held a large rally on the steps of the Oregon State Capitol this morning. You're looking at the view from Air 12 as hundreds of people rallied. Many of them are loggers, and there was a sea of logging trucks nearby.
The carbon fee and dividend is a bipartisan idea. There are many Republicans that are behind it. It came this close to passing, even in this Congress, which is really saying something. With this
probably put most of us out of business. If you're going to use the forests for carbon credits, they're going to have to lock those forests up, and so there will be no harvest on state lands, and many private lands will follow suit.
Well, I hope you liked it. It was cute. It's always interesting to find these clips and put them together and all. But yeah, what do you think? Are we more than 7 billion? What do you think, guys? The logging. There was a couple of ideas as I came to this. And it was that get a different job, train them for something else, stop logging. I didn't feel bad for any of them. I really didn't feel bad for any of them because things have to change. And every era, we are in what is it? The fifth industrial revolution, I think, or whatever the frig they call it. You got to change. There's not going to be enough timber, enough lumber. There's just not going to be. Oh, Lord. Lordy, Lordy. So, anyway, let's go through. Let me see what you guys are talking about. I've been working on trying to set this thing up to make it a lot easier for me to push buttons. I'll show you what it's called. It's called the Steam Deck. And each little button will allow me then to run scenes where I don't have to be moving around and doing all this, so I don't screw everything up. But it's learning, it's learning programming and all. And yeah, Joe, there's no solution to the predicament. There really isn't. But we are not gone yet. And people are not going to stop. No. What's Ed got to say? That was years ago. Since then, they've published a white paper on how you could, how you could go 100% renewable. They petitioned to close fossil fuel plants as they can make more money with renewables. Well, let's hope so. And again, you don't need a market solution. You need to grow a pair and force big businesses to comply or put them in jail. And you know what else you need to do? In the United States, you need to stop fossil fuel subsidies. That's a lot of money. That's really a lot of money. So what do we need them for? There we go. She said it. I think we need to do all the things at once. Carbon tax and dividend, slash oil subsidies, cap and trade, and figure out what works. Well, a lot of the problems, Poppy, are what I noticed. It was the fighting. It's partisan, and it is, I don't think 2020 passed in Oregon. And because I bet a lot of those people ended up with Trump hats. I don't know if it passed. I'll have to look it up while we talk about that. But let me see. I have a couple of little things. It's fixing that price to carbon. I mean, you think it can work? Businesses alone choose whether to reduce emissions or pay the price? I don't know. I don't know. But I need to take a deep breath down. We need to go. You're all pretty busy. Cap and giveaway. Sacrifice nothing. Now with offsetting, oh boy, cap and giveaway. Get rich, save the planet. I find these amazing things. I find them all the time. And is it business as usual? Is it business as usual? What do we think? Okay, so this is actually a graph of where the percentage of each state who favor a national cap and trade in 2020. And you can go to this website and you can see where the data came from. But you see 75%, 60%, I guess in a lot of states people want it. And while you look at Wyoming, North Dakota, Montana, there's no information from those states, but people were polled in a lot of other states. And surprisingly, Arkansas, where those people were from, 65% of the people polled were in favor of a national cap and trade program. But then when you go to look at, you go on Twitter and you just put in carbon tax or dividend or fee or whatever you put in, and boy, there is a lot of arguing because it is definitely down party lines. Especially the word tax, people say right away, it's a scam. It's not going to work. People are going to, it's not going to come back to you. And we're going to look at that. Look at that. And you're right. 70% favor Medicare for all. You think we're going to get that? Who knows? It would be nice, though. Yes, Gary, it's hard to change, especially for corporations, only until they see a profit in it. That's it. It's always a profit. Bingo, 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 bingo. It's always a profit. But we're a capitalist system. That's at least the United States, but there's other countries that are doing this. I know I think Sweden is doing it, and Rich. Hi, Rich Diana. We still need to rid ourselves of the largest individual footprint out there, the Trumpster. He's going. And then, when he goes, my main thing is who is going to be in the EPA, who's going to head up the EPA and be in the EPA, who is going to be in the Department of the Interior, and who is going to be in the Department of Energy. I'm very much invested in those things. And I am going to be reporting on those things come January, especially the EPA. But you know what? The Department of Interior is so important. And Chris, Bears Ears. We're looking at Tongass. We're looking at so many places. We're looking at that roll-this rule being rolled back for Tongass so that the timber industry. Bye, Chris. She has to go. All right. So that the timber industry could go in there and make everything all fucked up. And then let's hope that the Department of Energy gets somebody who knows about energy and not like that moron, Rylee Pare. What was he? Was he the governor of Texas or something? He was from Texas. This guy is stupider than stupid. We need scientists, not politicians. I really hope Joe Biden does that. Oh God, I'm sorry, guys. My eyes are just watering like crazy. You can't have hopium, right? Not too much of it, but you can sure as shit pay attention and see what's happening and get involved in something, right? Something. Big hugs to you, Chris. Let me see if I have a big hug voice. Do I have a hug voice? I don't know. I got some sound effects, but no, I don't have a hug sound effect. I'll have to look for a hug sound effect. But hopefully I can set up this Steam Deck and learn how to do it. My God, my whole life is about learning, because I think if I didn't occupy myself, and a lot of us are like this, if we didn't occupy ourselves, I think we'd go crazy. And you can't sit on Twitter all day. Hi, Philip Blair. Philip says cap and trade so pollution won't be free anymore. Our air, water, and soil should not be open for free, unlimited waste dumping. That's anti-capitalist. Trump's faction is very anti-capitalist. That's an interesting comment. I got to think about that. Let's think about that one. All right. And hello, Hopium Copium. Hi, Paul. Hi, honey. How are you? Okay, so yeah, Rylee Pare was peed at the environmental rules affecting his pest control business and got into politics. These people are just freaking. They're really. He picked the biggest idiots of the idiots. Wow. Cat hair. It must be cat hair. Cat hair. Whatever. I should really collect all the cat hair and make something out of it. All right. Well, I'm going to go to see what we've got here to pull up. A lot of you are engaged. I'm glad. What do we have to pull up tonight? I have a lot. But you know what? It's going to be so much easier when I can just press a button and then have it done. So let's see if I can do this, because I forgot to set this up the right way. So give me a second, guys, because it's too big and I don't want it like that. I want it to, okay. All right. I will learn. Alrighty, here we go. I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but this is an article. I mean, there's a lot out there on it. It's an article on, gosh, I don't like what I did to my desktop. It shouldn't be so big. I don't get it. I don't know what the hell I did. You know, you can only try so hard to get things to work. All right, so this was the tax, its purpose, and how it works. And obviously, I'm not going to go through this whole thing because we've been talking about it. All right, and we know it's about burning fossil fuels, coal, oil, gasoline, natural gas, and it discourages the use of fossil fuels. To cut usage enough to make a difference, they would have to be very high. And other measures, just like we talked about it. So the purpose of carbon tax is to reflect the true cost of burning carbon. Den McCartney, you said the hair in the furnace caused a malfunction. I don't have a furnace on. We don't use a furnace. And I know, as awful as it sounds, we burn wood in a catalytic converter wood stove, and my husband chops it from felled trees. He doesn't take down trees. They're already down. So I don't feel as bad. I hate the timber business. But I also hate propane, and I don't use it much. Anyway, and it's been warm, unusually warm, very warm. So let's see here. Warning. Are you asking me, One Shot, what I think about the Four Seasons landscaping? I think Rudy Giuliani is a complete fucking moron. So let's just say that. All right. Warning, the Federal Reserve blames the lack of a national carbon tax for climate change. I think Canada's got stuff. Climate change facts and the effect on the economy. What does climate change cost us and what's being done? So this balance has some good stuff in it. All right. I'm not going through this again. It's too long. And if you give me a second, I really would like to figure out why the frig this screen is like this. Everything is like not right tonight. Everything's wrong. But it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. All right. Let's go to the next one. This is... All right. Let's go here. Let's go to the next one. This was from 2013. And it was in The Guardian. I just don't get this. I got it. Wait a second. Can you guys see it? I'm closing everything so I can see what's going on here on the screen. Okay, this was from 2013 in The Guardian, and they had been talking about which is better, you know. And so there's a lot of links in this article. And register for free. Well, guess what? I'll do it later. I don't know. I've never gotten that from The Guardian before. So they talk about all this stuff too. You know, how many times I can go over the same stuff. All right. I'm not going to go over the same stuff. But they do talk about emissions permits, because each company, the big polluters they can buy their little permits from other companies that don't use a lot of, that don't burn a lot of carbon. But I just don't know. You know, I think the jury's out for me. There's too much fighting. In Canada, people are so angry over it, and it is down party lines. So here, 2013, they were talking about, let's see, cost and benefits. You know, there was something in this article I really wanted to find, but I'm not. Means for climate change in the short term, most economists agree that uncertainty alone argues for a tax. Climate change depends on the stock of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and each year the increase in that stock due to new emissions is small. So the environment is probably not that sensitive to the uncertainty about the level of emissions brought about by choosing a tax at least over a year or two. But anyway, on the other side of the ledger, the cost of reducing pollution is highly sensitive to changes in emissions, since it can be expensive to businesses to change their production methods, tough shit, abruptly. And nobody has done it abruptly. Nobody's done anything abruptly. No. Have we seen anything change abruptly? No, I don't think so. My God, no. And then there was another article that came out of Grist, and this one was a little bit newer, and they were talking about, and here we go again. They were talking about, and Grist is a pretty decent. Now let's see. Let me just fit this. Okay, guys. Wow, you try so hard to make sure everything's perfect, and then it's not. It's not. Okay. I don't want it so you can't see it. So this one, cap and trade offs, and they're talking about California. And here, imagine Joe Biden, he's wrapping his first year up of his presidency, and long-awaited legislation to address climate change is just shy of the finish line. And it's been a slog with swing vote conservatives bargaining to water down the bill, protect their pet industries, and add pork barrel projects. Then, before the final votes, a batch of progressives who had hoped Bernie Sanders would win the Democratic Party's nomination for president threatened to sink the legislation. They argue that Democrats have given away too much to win over a few centrists and hate that the bill puts a price on carbon. See, it's not just speculative fiction. It's exactly how politics played out in California in 2016 as the state struggled to reauthorize its Keystone climate change law. The legislature managed to pass the reauthorization the following year amid a furious debate that didn't end when Brown signed the bill. It's a debate over priorities, right? Priorities, global versus local. California's system for capping and trading greenhouse gases is aimed at the global crisis, climate change, or as Frank Rotering says, GHG crisis. And we say climate. There's a lot better terms than climate change. But the argument over the scheme centers on a local issue, and this is environmental racism, guys. Dirty air spreading within neighborhoods surrounding polluting factories and power plants. Oh, now that's a whole different view of things, right? There's one side, there are advocates for climate action, and on the other side are activists for environmental justice, the movement to reverse that historical trend of dumping pollution on poor people and Black and Hispanic communities. So California, they're thinking globally, but they're a state that's not thinking locally. So at the surface, the struggle is over facts, over whether pricing carbon makes local air pollution worse. But there's also a deeper and much more significant disagreement. Most environmental justice advocates aren't fundamentally opposed to putting a price on carbon. They are opposed to the political pattern repeated several times over where politicians trade away working local air pollution laws to tackle the global problem of climate change. Now, California is a big state, and don't they have a huge economy? And weren't they saying that they could just leave? They could secede and be their own country. In the United States, we're such a big country. Every state could be a country like Europe. It's an interesting article. This term, environmental justice, it was a term relegated, and let me pull this up again. It was a term relegated to environmental circles until the recent Democratic primary when it was on the lips of nearly all the major candidates. If a Democrat is headed to the White House in November, environmental justice concerns are going to be front and center, said Meredith Fowley, an economist at the University of California, Berkeley. There is something we can learn from California, and it's crucial that we learn it. What do you think? California. Look at, ugh, that looks like Florida. See the big cranes in the back? It's not stopping. Growth, growth, growth. It is kind of disgusting. A similar story to California already played out in Washington State, where 3 efforts to put a price on carbon have failed in recent years, but voters reject it because, well, they think it's gonna hurt them. And if you're in a shitty neighborhood and you live near all of these emitting industries, maybe you won't vote for something like this because you don't want it to be worse where you live. And I understand this, I understand it. My daughter just moved out of an area in Buffalo where she lived right near the bomb trains. I mean, her house was like the third in from the yard, the bomb trains, and you could hear them all night long. She bought that house. She lived there for 5 years and she's gone. She's out of it. I'm so glad she's away from it. But, people have to live someplace, right? They have to live someplace. So California it started with a distrust in the markets. And the idea behind cap and trade, as well as carbon taxes, is that putting a price on carbon emissions will allow the market to do the work that would normally be reserved for government regulators. In this case, cutting pollution. But what the hell is wrong with stopping the subsidies? That would be huge, at least federally. And then there would be more money for the states, especially now that COVID affected the states so drastically. Anyway, these neighborhoods would become dumping grounds. And it's hard to trust the market when the market has never brought justice to any of these communities. So there's evidence that smokestacks pumped more pollution into the lungs of people living in gritty industrial areas after cap and trade went into place. A preliminary study of the program, co-authored by GRIS board member Rachel Morello-Frosch, found that in the first couple of years under cap and trade, localized greenhouse gas emissions had increased in disadvantaged neighborhoods. So basically, there is nothing that's going to work. And what did they say? They called it an I told you so report. How it changed between 13 and 15. The first 3 years of cap and trade, they said because it showed that pollution had gone up in these neighborhoods. And it really does suck. It sucks. It reminds me of Niagara Falls. Up there, I get the DEC newsletter, the Department of Environmental Conservation in New York. I get their newsletter. And there is always something about a cleanup site in that area. That's the area that my husband's from. And people are dropping like flies from up there, from cancer. And but every day there's a brownfield, there's a cleanup, there's something in the New York State DEC. We're very, very, very industrial up there. And not a great place for kids to grow up. So much sickness. So much sickness. So they're right to be worried about this. They're right that, look at that. In 2018, the study found that air quality had gotten worse. And it didn't actually show that cap and trade made it worse, but there was no evidence. So there was no evidence of cause and effect, but the economy was booming and polluting gas plants ramped up sharply when Onofre nuclear generating station shut down in 2013. So they can't tell. They don't know. It's just really kind of screwed up. It's screwed up. You're damned if you do. You're damned if you don't. California polluters have been spewing less grit, in the air in recent years, but it's hard to tell if it's due to changes in the weather, the economy, or cap and trade. So that's going to be something that's going to take a long time. And you know what? It should have been done 25 years ago if it was going to work. 25 years ago, we're too late. We're too late. And this was talked about, but they fart around with everything. Everything is always, it's always a fight. So it's not going to happen, right? It's just not going to happen. All right. So I'm going to go on to, I'll show you, actually, I want to show you before I show you Citizens Climate Lobby. I'm going to show you that there's a lot of money out there. And as I was going through my search, this is a newsletter called Carbon Pulse. And you have to subscribe or you have to pay for the subscription, which I'm not going to do. No way. And you can read all of the information on carbon markets, greenhouse gas pricing, and climate policy. So it's a whole new way to make money. California regulator chief says cap and trade needs to do more. That's the newest article. New Zealand carbon market changes tip to drive new participants and products. Clarity on UK carbon pricing plans unlikely ahead of conclusion of EU trade talks. So you see, it's a big business. Let's see, Goldman Sachs International CEO on carbon markets. They are for real and demand is going to grow. Trading carbon is going to be for real and the demand for it's going to grow. So the question is, how do we bring this together in one place? Said Goldman Sachs International CEO. So there's a lot here, but again, I am not subscribing to it, so forget it. California prices inch back to 200. I don't know. I didn't. All right. So that's one. Then here's another one. This is a company, OPIS Carbon Market Report, daily carbon prices, news, and market analysis. So of course, there's always going to be, in the climate solutions, everybody's saying, well, not everybody, but buy stock in carbon drawdown technology if you have money. That's the thing of the future, right? If you have money, stock in carbon capture. Absolutely. So I'm not starting a free trial on this one either, but look at business. Who we help? Who do we help? They help refiners and suppliers, wholesale and jobbers, retailers, traders, NGL and petrochemical, transportation, municipalities. So the business is set up so that they can help these companies. It's a whole new, what is it? What do they call those? Niche market. So I even had another video done by this guy, a company, who was saying what his little company could do as far as helping people trade and do all this shit. All right. And this is another one. Well, this is Center for Climate and Energy Solutions, Cap and Trade Basics, but they have a whole lot of stuff also. And they're talking about pretty much the same thing. By letting the market set the price on carbon, emissions can be reduced in the most cost-effective way. And that's how we have to think of everything in money. Money. Let's say European countries have operated this since 2005. Several Chinese cities and provinces had carbon caps since 2013, and the government is working towards a national program. Mexico's running a pilot cap and trade program that the country began on January 1st, 2020. Will this make everything, go into more renewables? Is that just another evil? And here's even another one. Is this the same one? Yeah, I think it is. The latest carbon credit. I think I have it twice. Okay, so you see, all right. And then this is a very long article, so I'm not going to read it. This actually was from 2009 from the Smithsonian, the political history. It's in the show notes. You want to read it, you can read it. But it is back then, it talks about how this happened, how it became, and it's 11 years ago? 11 years ago, we've done, really, how much has been done? it's really sad. All this is taking a long time. It's taking a long time because of all the fighting all the time, right? And sometimes I just think it's like, it's not anything that will will take off. No. Western civilization is a loaded gun pointed at the head of the planet. That's Terence McKenna for you. Yep. There you go. That's what it is. However, like I said, all of this is taking a long time, and there's always going to be fighting, and the Democrats, the Republicans, then there's Brexit, and then, I'd say the only progressive country is New Zealand, because they have a great leader there. She is a great leader there. And let's see what you guys are talking about in there. All right, so Old Sage Joe. Joe, you're saying at best renewables postpone the inevitable collapse? Of course. And they're going to make their own collapse because we have to mine for all those things to make the batteries and everything else. But I'm not going to be a naysayer and say we can't do it, we don't do it, we shouldn't do it, because although I do like Derek Jensen, we're not going to stop any of this. We're not going to stop any of it. So, because we're not going to stop it, there's going to be cap and trade. There's always going to be more money in everything. It's just like it is. Just like it is. Oh, Philip says it goes back to Milton Friedman. I did not read anything that Milton Friedman was involved in this. I really didn't. Boy, and I was high platitudes you can't accept. Yeah, and trade. Yeah, well, anyway, it's just like, yeah, I like Terence McKenna too. I do too. I like finding these little fun things, and I was going to end with one that I was going to send to Donald Trump, but Kim, you said there's going to be a paper product shortage? Good. Because that means that then those people are not taking down the forests in Oregon. All those people you saw in my video, that all those timber people that all need to get different careers and see, that's it though. Jobs. That's another thing. Everybody's always talking about jobs, jobs, jobs. People have to work. People have to live, right? I mean, they're not going to stop having babies, at least not fast enough. Nothing's going to change much. It's just going to get worse. How positive is that? Are you guys talking about toilet paper? When I look around, Rich says, when I look around, I see incipient collapse in process. We do. But I wanted to talk about this tonight because it's something that I haven't talked about. Let's see, I think I did a live stream when I was with Real Progressives quite a while ago on Citizens Climate Lobby. And you know what? I forgot to go over them. And the show is almost over, but I'll just show you their little website, and they are really invested in making this work. And in their website, they have the policy, causation, mitigation, endangerment, co-benefits, and they say they are bipartisan, and they have a whole lot of stuff. Levers of political will. Now, that's an interesting one. They lobby, like Poppy said, she was lobbying. You have to lobby. Unfortunately, you have to, and it's pathetic because it's not the kind of lobbying like big lobbying where there's money. This is where you get in a little bus and you go with the local CCL people and you try to get appointments with the assistant. Media relations, grassroots outreach, grass tops engagement, group development. I don't think that Fox TV probably likes them too much. Fox Television, they don't like anything that has the word tax, even though people get the money back. Because what happens here is that with Citizens Climate Lobby and the carbon dividend, you get it. It doesn't go to the government. The tax dividend is it's not through payroll, it's not through anything other than the IRS. You get it. I believe it's the IRS is how they're doing it. And yes, Gary, they're fighting all the time, and we're running out of time. Oh, we all know this. We know this. Bipartisanship has gone extinct. Well, maybe, again, like I said, I'm going to be watching the EAP, the Department of the Interior, and the Energy Department. Those are my focuses for after January. See what goes on in the United States and how those interact, how our Department of Interior interacts with other countries as far as what resources are we shipping over to China, and are we going to keep allowing the sale of our companies like pork plants, like what is it, Smithfield Farms, that owns the Chinese nationals own in our country, and we are getting destroyed to send this shit all over. Oh, John, you joined them. Good for you. Yeah, I might go to their local meeting and see what's going on. I always do go to meetings, when I can, when I feel good enough to go. I try to walk the walk and not just talk the talk. But it's hard when you're disabled. That's kind of hard. Rich says you don't use toilet paper. You buy extra long t-shirts, or you can get that tushy thing. It hooks onto your toilet and it just uses the water, and you don't have to use toilet paper. I'll have to tell you all about it. Oh, it's tushy something. And they have this whole cute thing going. It's like a bidet that you hook into your toilet. I got one, but my husband hasn't put it in yet. And I'm thinking, well, you know what? I guess I'm just going to freaking do it. If I wait for him, it'll be next year. And I don't even know why I'm waiting for him. One shot? Military industrial complex needs to stop. USA has too many active wars, and we also have to stop making weapons, tanks, all that shit. We have to. Oh, there's so much. Yes, bidet, right, Kim? Oh, bidet, and you don't need toilet paper anymore. Oh, Gary says we could end up being our own population control through climate change. Unfortunately, we're already seeing some of this happen. AI tushy thing analyzes your hardware. If you saw my video the other night about the guy making the deposit and his online rating of his deposit, and it wasn't good anymore, you watch that video. That was great. Well, anyway, guys, I have been an hour, and to go over everything, we're talking about citizens climate lobby. We were talking about the carbon tax, carbon fee, whatever you want to call it, getting it back to the people, okay? Which that's the carbon tax, carbon dividend and fee. People get cap and trade, the difference in those, the political, do we even have the political will? There's just a lot going on, and it isn't going to stop. It isn't going to stop. Technology is happening no matter what we want and what we think. I love Derek Jensen, but he's not going to stop it. And it's unfortunate that this is our society. And we are definitely headed for a collapse. I don't know how many times we can talk about it. It's happening. We see it. But this is the shit that goes on every day. So I'm going to end with something. This goes out to, whoops, not that. Just a minute. Let me close that. Okay. This goes out to Donald Trump. Yes, definitely. That's my little good night for Donald Trump. I can't wait till he's gone. I'd like to see what happens in those departments. For me, the jury's out on cap and trade, dividend, all that stuff. I mean, who wouldn't want to see money come back to us? I guess that's a kind of a cool thing, but you're welcome, Karen. It was lovely to see you. All right, this time I'm going to get it right. I'm going to play my ending. I'll play that right. Because starting up, I didn't do a very good job. Just one of those nights. one of those nights, guys. And I will see you on Sunday with Jennifer. And we're going to have a couple of other guests. I just have to get my shit together to get my shit together. And my shit right now is the tushy bidet. No, my shit is all over the house. You know, there's so much to do, and I really would. Anybody want to come over and help me? And at that, hey, peace out. Good night. Thank you for coming. I'm not playing that other video. I'm just like leaving. Mwah. Love you all. Thank you for coming. Like, share, and subscribe. Peace out.